Team 2, the famous Calgary Flames, who we had as one of the winners in the drafts this year. So the Calgary Flames last year standings with 43 wins, 33 losses. So it wasn't about over 500. Last year's power play ranking 26th, 17.9%. Who's in? Anthony Manta, Kevin Ball, Jake Bean. Who's out? Andrew Manjapane, Oliver Lingden, Jacob Markstrom, Noah Hanfin, Elias Lindholm, and Chris Tanev. Player tiers. The Calgary Flames, we have absolutely no one hitting the tier 1 or tier 2. Tier 3, we have Nazem Kadri, who's going to hit between 70 and 79 points. And in the tier 4s, we have Jonathan Huberdeau, Sarangovic, Kuzmenko, and maybe Connor Zary.
Oh no! Don't list all the players.
Sorry, yeah, okay, but let's
name one player. Talk about that player.
I just want people to know which players we're going to talk about. So, okay, Nazem Kadri, is he a 70 to 79 point player?
Yes, absolutely. No questions asked. I think Kadri
Talk to me, Nick.
He's been quietly a highly producing center. Maybe he's not a number one center overall, but the guy put up 75 points last year, and he has put 100-point paces before in his career. So, look, I don't think he's a 100-point player. However, I could see him in that late 60s, early 70s point pace. And especially if he continues playing with Huberdeau, I felt that they were starting to get a chemistry near the end that started looking very good. And we'll talk about Huberdeau later, but I think Kadri, being the number one center on this team, he'll hit that 70-point mark.
I agree. I think what happened was because of that extraordinary 87-point season in 71 games with Colorado, everyone just automatically assumed he was a product of the Colorado Avalanche powerhouse. But in Toronto, he produced as well, and not with crazy minutes, like produced 60 points or so, let's say on average. I think it's fair to assume as a number one center on the Calgary Flames, he can keep it up at a 70-point pace for sure.
Yeah, I agree. Listen, he's the one consistent player on that team. He'll play in every possible situation, power play, shorthanded, and stuff like that. So
I'll say Mikael Backlund is the one consistent player on that team, but fantasy wise, I'll agree with you. It's more Kadri.
Yeah, of course.
That could put up those points on this team.
Yeah. So I think it's no debate on here that Kadri is a tier 3 player.
Now, is he going to be better than Huberdeau again this year, or is Huberdeau going to continue to improve like he did on the second half of last season?
I don't know. So last year he was on pace for 52 points. He got 52 points in 81 games. Prior to that, 55 and 79.
49 points.
I have here 52 and 81.
Yeah, he played. He got 52 and 81.
I think naturally now he seems to be more comfortable in the second half. He seemed to have picked it up. If they keep that chemistry going, I think he can hit 60 points. I expect his power play points to go up a little bit more because he was always like a 30-point power play guy, and now he barely hit 20. Actually hit 19. So I expect that to go up a little bit. All in all, I mean, I don't see him going back to the Florida days and the points he was putting up with Florida, but I think he can hit the 60 to 69, perhaps even 70 when he's better surrounded. But for next year, fantasy-wise, 60 to 69 points is fair to assume. In a cap league, it's a little tough to swallow.
In a cap league, he is not a rosterable player that you want, simply because his salary is just
makes no sense.
Exaggerated. They're paying him for that 118-point pace season that he had, or 91-point pace season, or 93. He's not going to put that up again. However, I do see him hitting our 70-point pace this year. And the reason I'm saying that is because, okay, it's year one, he got 57-point pace in Calgary. Year two, 53-point pace in Calgary. I feel like he's starting to settle though, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's just name value here, but I think this player is better than what he's shown. And if he's surrounded consistently by players that could put the puck in the net, hence Sharangovich, Kuzmenko, I feel like it's possible for him to hit that 70 points again.
He'll have a better season than last year.
We thought for sure you were heading towards a listen there.
Ooh, he'll have a better season than last year. Last year, his shooting percentage was 8.4. He averages about 12.2 in his career. So I feel that those 12 goals can easily go into 20 to 22 goals. So right there, you hit the 60-point mark. Calgary is not a team that people think will make the playoffs next year, especially with the deals they've done, getting rid of Hannafin, getting rid of Markstrom. So I think there's a little bit less pressure. I think Huberdeau realized, or starting to realize, he's not playing with Barkov, and that at the end of the day, he needs to change the way he plays. But if he hits 70, it's a win for Calgary. That's what I'm going to say. But I think he can easily hit between the 60 to 65 just because I feel the 12 goals is low. He's been a consistent 40 assist guy. Like if you look from 2014 to 2024, he's had a minimum of 40 assists except for a season where he played 31 games.
Yeah.
So you know he's going to hit those 40 assists. So he can hit the 2022 goals at 62 points.
So let's say that, and I'm just going to do the math a little bit here, but you said he had an 8.4 shooting percentage last year, which is the lowest, and you're absolutely right about that. However, let's say that he moved up to a 13% shooting percentage. Instead of 12 goals, he would have had 18.
That's still
That's
goals.
60 points.
It's 6 points.
Yeah.
Right? So it's just to kind of give a little bit of
That's why
how the math
I think
works.
70 you're reaching. I think 60 to 69 you're
maybe
there.
I'm reaching. I kind of feel like he should be able to put up 50 assists at least. And if you grab those 18 goals, he's right there. He's 68 points, right?
A lot of it will have to do with the young guys, how they develop if they take another step forward too, right?
Well, I mentioned already Sharangovich. So you guys want to move on with Sharangovich?
Listen, Goju, if you want to go first.
Sure. 31 goals, 28 assists, 59 points in 82 games. Career high in goals and assists. Highest point per game pace in his career. He's only played 4 full seasons. Look, this is tough. I'm not sure what to think for him. I don't think he's a 30-goal scorer, to be honest. But I do think on this team he can be until they start getting better and have better players to take that spot. We have him ranked at 60 to 69 points, but I see him being just under the 60 points.
Well, he had 59 points last year in 82 games played. He had 17 minutes of time on ice, which is the most in his career. This team seems to trust him. If he could continue a Huberdeau type chemistry, I think 60 points could be in the card. I mean, 59 and 60, like we're really talking about little differences here. The only thing that scared me a little bit is his 17% shooting percentage, which is the reason I agree with you. He won't hit 30 goals necessarily, but last year was his first year in Calgary, so settling into the city, By the way, did you guys see the new arena?
Yeah, it looks phenomenal.
Be
Looks
phenomenal.
phenomenal in Calgary, and it's about time. The Saddle Dome is old,
exactly.
right? But anyways, okay. Sharangovich, I agree with you. He might be borderline that 60 again.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I'm not going to add more to that. I think, like Nick said, his 17% shooting average was a bit high. I don't see it going that high this year. But if Huberdeau and the other players up their game, he might throw in some assists here and there. So I see him in the low 60s. I don't see him getting into anywhere in the high 60s.
All right,
Well,
moving on.
I know one listener that's very curious about what we're going to say here, and that's listener Bamia, who should be flying to Greece right about the time that we post this. So Andrei Kuzmenko. Kuzmenko played 72 games last year between Vancouver and Calgary. Put up a 52-point pace, 46 points actual. And when he got to Calgary, he kind of started putting them in again. What do we think that continues? I mean, he has had a 38-goal season in Vancouver already. Do we think he's closer to the 22 that he did last year or the 38 that he did in his first year?
Vince, you want to take that?
Yeah, listen, I feel he's... Listen. I feel with the trades they made, someone has to take on Mangiapane's goal. I don't see any young players taking on his role, and I don't see any young players right now taking on his minutes. So I think this is just a positive for Kuzmenko. He's proven he can score. It's just his shooting average is really high, like 24%, 18% last year. It's a difficult shooting average to keep up, right? But he's also only played 14 minutes. So you up that to 17 minutes a game. His shooting average might go lower, but his shots on goal might go higher, and his goals might be able to keep up in the 30 to 35.
Yeah, so he had a 24 percent shooting percentage with Calgary. With Vancouver was 12.7, so that doubled essentially, averaged out to 18. I think he's closer to 22 than he is 39. I do think he'll get more than 22 though in his contract year. This is also a contract year for Kuzmenko in a no pressure situation. All he has to worry about is himself, essentially. I think he can hit 25. I'm just not sure he hits 60, but on a contract year, I think he can push for 60. Yeah,
I think he'll be right there, the 60-point mark. And you guys said pretty much everything I needed to say here. If his time on ice improves, it's going to really help. Give me the pen back. His shooting percentage being 26 and 18, his career average is 22. But he's known as a shooter. He's known as a sniper, goal scorer, right? He just doesn't play very good defense, which is part of why Vancouver started losing interest in him in the Tocchet era of Vancouver, right? So we'll see. I mean, he has the ability to get to 60 points. I'll give that to you guys. And I think his shooting percentage being at 18 might not be high for him because of the fact that he's such a good sniper. So he's only 28, guys, so he's in his prime.
Yeah. So power play D-men, we have Rasmus Anderson and Mackenzie Weegar. What do you guys think of these defensemen on the power play?
I think Rasmus Anderson had a bit of an off year. He came off a 49-point season in 79 games and a 50-point season in 82 games. Last year in 2023, 2024, 39 points in 78 games. How much of that has to do with Mackenzie Weegar's push for points? I'm not sure. I think in the end, he has to be the guy for Calgary. But they rely on him for so much. He plays 23 and a half minutes a game, if not more. 2 minutes on the power play, 2 minutes shorthanded. He blocks 186 shots blocked last year. I think if they can not tax him so much, he can focus a bit more on the offense. I think it'll be a situational thing with the coaching and stuff. But I think it's safe to put him at a 40-point pace. But I wouldn't be shocked if he goes back to that 50-point pace. But he's a between 40 and 50-point guy. I don't expect more than that.
Well, I'll tell you the difference. The difference between the last 2 years of that 10 points that he lost is the power play. He played 47% of the power play last year, as opposed to 59% of the power play and 56% of the power play the 2 years previous. His power play points went 19, 21, down to 8. So that's the difference right there between the 40-point pace and the 50-point pace. So is that a result of Weegar coming onto the team and taking over power play 1? Or is it a result of him having an off year, so he lost power play 1? Can he take it back? I don't know. But in comparison, I think that's the big difference here. He's He needs that power play output.
Prior to last year, do you care to guess how many points Mackenzie Weegar had on a power play in any season he's played?
3.
4.
Because I have it in front of me.
It's 4. In 2020, 2021. Last year, he had 15.
No, 2020, 2021, he had 3 assists.
I have 3 assists.
I
also.
have 1 goal, 3 assists here
Well, your things are
on
wrong.
Fantrax.
No, I have power play points 3.
3.
Are you looking at power play points or
Power play
assists?
goals, power play assists. 1 plus 3 is 4. I mean,
I'm on frozen tools, so I don't know. Anyways,
something's
doesn't
wrong.
matter.
Anyway, okay, whatever.
It's
3.
1 point difference.
But he went from 3 or 4 to 15. Is that opportunity? Is that skill? What is that? I don't know.
It has everything to do with opportunity. With Florida, he was never the PP1 guy. If it wasn't Ekblad who was there, then it was Montour.
Yeah, he went up a minute of ice time after that, right? From that time to Calgary. But does it mean he's better than anyone else they have?
Let's call a spade a spade. In Calgary the year before, he had a 2.5 shooting percentage. The year before that, he had a 2.5 shooting percentage in Florida, and he still was playing 23 minutes of ice time. The year before that, he had 5.9 shooting percentage. Okay, so this year he had 9.6 shooting percentage and 20 goals for the first time in his career.
And 50 more shots.
So
I don't think he can repeat the 20 goals.
is
that's
he
for
repeating
sure.
20 goals again? Because to me, that's the part where he might lose a little bit, and Rasmus Andersson might gain a little bit.
I think he can easily hit 60 points this year because from the beginning he'll be a PP1 guy.
If he
remember,
stays there.
Well-
I mean, his shooting percentage needs to stay that high for him to stay there.
Yeah, but he still... Remember, this is the points he got. He got more comfortable with the team last year. And like you said, Anderson is already overtaxed. So the power play all depends on not only Uyghur, but all the other forwards and what they're going to be doing. So if we're thinking everybody's going to up their game, then you're expecting Uyghur to also get a few more points. So I wouldn't be shocked if he hits the 60 points this year.
So, in all fairness, I do own Rasmus Andersson. I do not own Mackenzie Weegar, but I feel like it's up in the air who gets power play 1.
Yeah, but
And whoever it does is the only one that...
it's going to be the hot hand, Nick.
Yeah, the hot hand,
This is
exactly.
what's going to go. Like, there's some teams that have their PP1 guys, and then there's other teams that will go with the hot hand. This is a situation where it's going to be the hot hand. If they see Uyghur has the hot hand, they're going to go with Uyghur.
Yeah.
If they see the power play is not
And he
working,
was hot last year.
yeah. And if they see the power play is not working with Uyghur, then they'll throw in Anderson.
Let me throw something at you guys. They acquired him late in the season, Miromanov. In 20 games played last year, short sample size, nothing to lose. He still averaged 2 minutes of power play time. Do you think he gets a push on the power play?
So,
Or is it Anderson and Uyghur primarily, and then if that doesn't work, then it's Miromanov?
So Miromanov, I owned him in Lama. I traded him away for a 5th, a 6th, and a 6th. Anyways,
A what?
but the fact of the matter is that the reason I got him is because he's an offensive defenseman. He is entering his prime right now. I think that he has a chance to, if one of those two guys gets injured, he comes in. But other than that, the reason I traded him away is because I don't foresee him necessarily getting that kind of ice time that is going to be fantasy relevant.
Yeah.
But he has the ability to get that 30 points at least.
Anything else
Next year.
Anything else on the D-man?
No, let's go to goalies.
The goalies. So this is we would say the biggest change in Calgary in goalies. They're finally giving Dustin Wolf his chance to be a number 1 goalie, and their safe backup, which is Dan Vildar. Dustin Wolf, 17 games played, .893 save percentage, goals against average 3.16, and he didn't play enough games to get the
Goal
goal
save
save
above expected.
against whatever. Vladar instead, a save percentage .882, goals against average 3.62, 5-on-5, 63rd in the league with 20 games played more. I'm not saying it.
Goals
What is
above saved above the expected.
GSAE.
Goals
Are you
saved
happy?
above
No, I'm going to say
expected.
GSAE. You happy? There.
I'm not saying anything.
63rd in the league. So basically, their goalies were...
Their goalie tandem might be one of the worst in the league
Hold on.
Okay, so
right
goalie.
now.
I am cheering for Dustin Wolf.
Likewise, high five.
He is a young player who is undersized, and I really hope that he could prove everybody wrong and actually perform in the NHL. In a small sample size last year, he was better than Vladar. Having said that, though, it's a little bit scary. It's a little bit scary because he played 17 games, 893 save percentage, 3.16 goals against average. Dustin Wolf is being thrown to the wolves. They got rid of Markstrom. They didn't replace Markstrom.
I like what you did there.
Thank you. In a way, I feel like it's sink or swim for him this year. And hopefully he could stay afloat because I think he has a bright future in the NHL. And I'd like to see him not lose completely his confidence in a year that might be a little bit rocky.
Neither goalie will be fantasy relevant in redraft leagues or anything that you need done next year. I think if you're relying on any of these two goalies for next year, you're in deep trouble. Dustin Wolf, long-term dynasty leagues, absolutely. He has all the tools despite the size, but he needs to have a better team in front of him for sure when he's that young. We've spoke earlier about a veteran who can make a name for himself on a bad team. A young goalie, it's a different situation. So for me, they're irrelevant going into this season. Dustin Wolf going forward, though, should be a target in dynasty leagues.
There was a lot of turbulence in that position in Calgary
I like that.
last year. So,
Turbulence.
like Junior said, I think Dustin Wolf is the future of this team. And when they're ready to compete, he'll probably be in his prime. And they did very well in drafting this year and the year after. So if they keep that up, I feel he'll be dynasty relevance in the future. Vladar, listen, he's just a backup who just had an awful season last year.
He's the reason
you
why...
were trying to trade him with value last year at one point. Earlier in the season, you were trying to trade him to me in Llama.
I don't remember. He probably had one good game. I'm like, let me try.
Prospects, Nick. Prospects.
You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
That's right.
Remember that, people.
By the way, he's the
that.
reason. Vladar is the reason that I went out to get Connor Ingram. Because I have Vasilevsky, I have Sorokin. If one of those two guys get injured, it was Vladar.
I thought this wasn't about your team.
It's always about my team. Connor Zary. Guys, last year was his rookie season. He played 63 games, and he was on pace for 44 points, which we said is actually a very good for a rookie in the NHL. He had averaged 15 minutes of time on ice, so we're not going to write home about that. He is a rookie. However, I still kind of don't see him ever turning into a top-line center. I do see him turning into a good middle six center. Probably second line.
I see him
Not as early as next year.
I see him as a winger. I think they're going to keep him on the wing as of now, get his points, get his experience, and if he does well enough, then maybe push him to the middle. But he's, listen, he had a good rookie season. Year two is always tough, right? It's the sophomore slump, they call it, in the NHL, so it could be that happens to him. But he's getting the opportunities to play on the power play. He's getting the opportunities to play top 6 minutes. So he's one of the bright side of the prospects.
He came out of the gate flying last year. 10 points in 12 games. He played alongside Kadri. So I wonder if they reunite Kadri, Zary, and Huberdeau this year. If they do that, I can see a nice progression for sure.
I still think in the future, though, they're hoping that he is a center because that is his position in juniors. Can he be a winger? Sure. I mean, it's much easier to transition to a winger rather than center, like a winger going center. So I still think eventually, though, they're hoping that he becomes their second line center. We already spoke about Dustin Wolf.
Yep.
They had two great picks early in this draft. They had 3-4 great picks total. in the first 5 rounds of this year's draft. That is Perek, Grindin, Basha, Battaglia as well. These are all absolutely phenomenal picks. We've already mentioned that they're one of our winners from the draft.
Solid draft. Solid.
So Calgary Flames fans, I know it's been a little bit tough, but at least you have some bright things coming in the future here. And you know what? A lot of fun too. Dustin Wolf is going to be a lot of fun to watch this year. What do we think about Matt Coronado? He's the only other guy that's probably going to be on the team this year.
Yeah, 9 points in 34 games last year.
Jacob Pelletier?
Oh, Pelletier too. Yeah,
Pelletier
yeah.
I think Coronado, I thought he would have taken a bigger step forward last year. I did own him in a league. I did trade him away in a trade for Buchnevich. But I think he just needs more experience. On a team with no pressure, he shouldn't have any excuses next year to get more than 9 points in 34 games. If he's not able to take that next step next year, then I'll start being worried. But right now, I think it's natural progression.
Vince?
Yeah, listen, both these players are still young. Whether it's Pelletier or Coronado, I think they're both young. They just need some experience. Is Calgary going to be able to give them that experience? I mean, you signed Anthony Manta. You signed all these, where do these guys all fit in your lineup? Right? So, but listen, maybe...
There's a chance Coronado doesn't play at all this year.
There's a chance Coronado and Pelletier don't play at all, and they'll develop in the AHL, which is not a bad situation either for them, right? So, yeah, I mean, I don't think they're fantasy relevant at all. Dynasty, yes, I would still hold on to them if I have them in Dynasty. Give them a few more years just to see how things go.
All right. Let's move on to our final thoughts, unless somebody else has someone else to talk about.
No, I'm done.
No, I'm good with Calgary.
Okay. I'm gonna take a guess that this is right, but 27th in Dom's model.
It is right. It was wrong, and I corrected it while you guys were talking. Hey, people make mistakes.
Yeah, you're making a few.
I corrected it before you guys even knew. So technically,
I hope you corrected the other ones too.
We're going to see when we get there.
Look, the teardown is on. It's part of the rebuilding process, but I kind of feel like it's a little bit of a retool as well. They brought in guys, Sharangovich, Kuzmenko, that could possibly take some roster spots away from those young guys. If it was a full rebuild, I kind of feel like they would have.
But I do think
more,
Kuzmenko is going to be more of a trade asset this year than he was a long-term plan for them.
They brought in Mantha as well. Jake Bean could be interesting. Anyways, it's going to be a fun team to watch. I always like watching Calgary play.
I think they're hoping for a hot start, and then during the season battle for one of those wild card spots. But I don't see them, unless their goaltending really changes, I don't see them making the playoffs.
In the Battle of Alberta,